Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ways and Means Committee meeting. The January 28th, 2025 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines is present. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy is excused. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. Chairman Mafucci.
Here.
Chairman Mafucci is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present. And President Roman. President Roman is present.
Legislators, will you please stand as Legislator Mercedes Vasquez Simmons will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Are there any speakers signed up for the public forum?
There's not.
Okay, seeing none, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You will have the minutes from the December 17th, 2024 meeting before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Consider the agenda as a whole, with the exception of items number 8, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 21.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion?
I'll read those for everybody as well. That was referral number 25-0008, 25-0009, 25-0013, 25-0014, 25-0015, 25-0016, 25-0017, 25-0021.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
We should be on 25-0008, authorized contracts with Labella Associates and ME Engineering for Seneca Park Zoo facilities and grounds architectural and engineering term services.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0009, authorize a contract with Cambridge 7 Associates Architects for professional design services for the Seneca Park Zoo Tropical Exhibit and Main Entry Plaza project.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baines.
Mr. Chairman, would the administration review the thinking behind securing a firm from outside of the region? I know we were briefed, but I think for the record, it would be useful for the community to hear.
Through the chair, thank you for that question, and we were happy to provide the caucuses an overview of this project and the approach, the unique approach that the county took to selecting this firm. Generally, we go through a qualifications-based selection, come before you and say this firm is particularly well qualified and ask for an authorization. In this case, we went one step further. We started with a request for qualifications. A number of firms responded. We shortlisted down to 3 firms. One was Cambridge 7 out of town, the other 2 were local. And then we issued an RFP and requested that they engage in what I would call a design competition. And that was unique because it gave us the opportunity to really understand the thinking that each firm would bring to the table, their ideas, and how they could develop, I should say, a project that's world-class, high impact, but could deliver a project on time and under budget. So we went through a number of iterations with each of the three firms that responded to the RFP. Again, they all had very unique approaches with their designs, but it gave us a real opportunity to thoroughly vet the consultant and their team. Cambridge 7 is an out-of-town firm, but they are internationally recognized architecture firm that specializes in zoos and aquariums. They've done work around the United States and in Kuwait, Canada, and Saudi Arabia. They have a tremendous resume that was ideally suited for their being qualified, but what really sold us was their unique design that was very budget conscious to develop, again, a high-impact exhibit and main entry space. And as you could tell, if you were able to see some of the renderings that they did, it was beautifully designed, but the emphasis is really on constructability and the experience of the patron. And they did it being conscious of our budget, which was reviewed by LaChase, who's a construction manager on this job, for all three of the design firms that submitted. So we really put the design firms through the paces to come up with a recommendation. Yes, it's unique to hire an out-of-town firm for a large capital project. The last time that was done, in my recollection, was for Frontier Field at the time. But we felt it was warranted, and it's what met the county's needs, and we think it will exceed the community's expectations in terms of an exhibit.
Thank you. I yield.
Legislator Barnhart.
Administration, those three design firms, you paid them all each $20,000, right?
Through the chair, that is a small stipend that was paid to each of the firms. That is correct.
The chair to the administration, is there a reason you chose the figure $20,000, one less than what the legislature would have had to vote upon?
Through the chair, we felt it was a reasonable amount. We didn't expect it would cover all of their costs, but it certainly showed our commitment, and we felt that it would hopefully elicit their commitment too in terms of advancing in design.
I would like to explain my vote. I appreciate the administration's candor during a private meeting with the Democratic caucus about the status of this project. That briefing should have taken place in this chamber, and if it had, the public would have learned serious missteps led to the loss of $6 million on the original design, necessitating this referral for a new design firm. The public would have learned that there's a new project manager and that the original vision that was announced in 2022 has shrunk. The public would have learned that the administration's public statements about the county's share being $35 million is grossly misleading, as the county could be on the hook for as much as $50 million if no further private dollars or state and federal funding is secured. The public would have learned the legislature didn't know about any of this until after the press conference announcing a new design firm was selected. Why didn't the legislature know about the selection process? Because the administration paid each of the three design finalists $20,000 for their application, $1 less than we would have had to vote upon, and which surely would have triggered more questions that could have put a damper on the big announcement and PR spectacle. I think the administration, though, has righted the ship and lessons have been learned. I do have confidence in this project moving forward, and I will be voting yes. But this entire episode shows a deeply troubling lack of transparency. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed?
One.
Two?
Sorry. I got Legislator Keller and Legislator Vasquez Simmons as noes. That would be a 9-2 referral passes.
Next item.
25-0013, authorize a contract with the Center for Governmental Research for professional services for the Monroe County Small Business Roundtable Assessment and reappropriate fund balance.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Legislator Brew.
Administration, why is it necessary to have a consulting service? Aren't the businesses in Roundtable capable of doing this on their own without a cost to taxpayers?
Through the chair, this is a project that's being advanced by the Planning and Economic Development Department. They're not here, but I think I can pinch hit on this. It's really beyond, the expertise and the resources required to really evaluate the feasibility and a potential structure of a sustainable business roundtable is really beyond the scope of the planning department presently. They felt they needed to rely on an outside expert that could guide, assess, evaluate, engage with the business community to really assess the interest, for one, and the feasibility. So it really, this consultant would be acting as an extension of their staff to really thoroughly vet and determine, is there interest within the business community to advance this and then support it and sustain it going forward.
Okay, thank you. And a couple of follow-up questions. So would this consultant be responsible for staying with the roundtable throughout the process of determining what actions might be taken throughout the county?
Through the chair.
Through the chair, I'm sorry.
Through the chair, no. The way the consultant has been hired, there is a decision point during the middle of this process to help us identify whether the roundtable would be viable. If so, we would then create a white paper that would explain what that roundtable could look like, and that would be the conclusion of the effort. And at that point, it is up to the private sector to implement this idea and for businesses to come together to support it.
Okay, as another follow-up question through the chair of the administration, do you feel that these consulting services could be obtained on a local basis here in Monroe County?
Through the chair, they are on a local basis. The Center for Governmental Research is a local company and just down the road.
Thank you. I yield.
Legislator Keller.
Was an RFQ issued, and if so, who else responded?
Yes, there was an RFQ issued, and we had 3 respondents, Breakthrough Leadership Consulting, CGR, and the Rochester Ecology Partners.
All right, thank you. I yield.
Legislator Baines.
Chairman, the nature of the funding here, the referral says reappropriate fund balance. Haven't we already committed dollars for this purpose, and we're adjusting them, or are these new dollars? There were some earlier questions that I think left some confusion around this.
Mr. Chairman, the legislature did appropriate previously committed fund balance for the 2024 budget. As has been said a number of times, appropriations in the operating budget expire on December 31st of each year. So the appropriation of that previously committed fund balance would have also expired and gone back to fund balance. Therefore, we are seeking to reappropriate what had been included in the 24 operating budget.
You, Mr. Chairman, further clarify, because I can't always hear in the back, this amount of money, is it less than what we originally had budgeted for this purpose?
Chairman, at the time the legislature appropriated committed fund balance, the legislature appropriated $150,000. To be frank, I'm not sure anyone in the administration could have accurately assessed what the number should have been, but it seemed reasonable to appropriate $150,000. These proposals came in significantly less, with the Center for Governmental Research requesting only $75,000.
Chairman, this is an outcome that we appreciate. Thank you. I yield.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Oh, roll call vote. Roll call vote?
Roll call vote. Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Mr. Baines? Mr. Baines votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy is excused. Mr. Brew? Mr. Brew votes no. Mr. Colby? Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Dondorfer? Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller votes no. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons? Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. Mr. Udelson? Mr. Udelson votes yes. Chairman Mafucci?
Yes.
Chairman Mafucci votes yes. President Roman? President Roman votes yes. 7-4. Referral passes.
Item carries. Next item.
Referral number 25-0014, amend Resolution 475 of 2023 to accept additional funding from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services for the offices of the Public Defender, the Conflict Defender, and the Assigned Counsel Program for the provision of indigent legal services.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Baines. Is there any discussion?
Got it.
Thank you, legislator Baines. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0015, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for the fiscal year 2024 Emergency Management Performance Grant.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baines.
The administration review the sequence of events that results in the funding of this type coming into our bank account, if you will. In other words, do we spend the money up front and then are reimbursed? Or do we begin activity funded and receive the money sometime during the performance of the service? Or does it happen when the service has been fully rendered? This refers to the next three referrals.
Mr. Chairman, this Emergency Management Performance Grant is reimbursement-based. So the County of Monroe spends $1 and then subsequently claims that expense for 50% reimbursement, which comes at a future date.
You, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, we discussed this when we were doing the budget, which is the question of whether or not we're taking extra risk in the event that the federal government freezes grant money, which there's been a whole hullabaloo about today. Nobody seems to understand what they're saying or what they're doing. But so there is some exposure then that that the federal government may, for reasons which we might not even understand, not pay this money to us. Some risk. That's my question.
Mr. Chairman, this county has seen firsthand the risk associated with government-funded grants through both state and federal sequestration. In my career, it occurred in 2004, a small amount in 2008, and in 2012. The 2012 federal sequestration was 20%. It went quite a long time, but the county was ultimately paid. So this county has accepted that risk in the past for an emergency performance management grant, $272,000 and change. The risk is certainly exists, but I would categorize this as a relatively low risk. And with the current situation at the federal government, I can also say to this honorable body that the Monroe County management team certainly can control the level and extent of spending to give itself time to move the project forward, but also mitigate the risk should the federal government take longer than they suggest their review will take.
I'd like to explain my vote for this item and the next few items. It's super helpful for me as a legislator to have CFO Franklin explain the way we operate and the rationale, and it makes me much more confident in voting yes on all of these items. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Baines. And I would just add to your comment that due to the very professional work of the administration and this honorable body, the county is in very good financial shape, and we probably are prepared to at least handle everything that comes our way. And again, I would commend the administration and this honorable body for that work. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item.
Referral 25-0016, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for the fiscal year 2024 State Homeland Security Program and authorize a contract with the University of Rochester.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0017, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for the fiscal year 2024 State Law Enforcement Terrorism Prevention Program and authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Greece.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 25-0021, amend the 2025 capital budget and the bond resolution adopted pursuant to referral 24-0418 to provide an increase in funding for the terminal improvements project and authorize a contract with the Margaret Woodbury Strong Museum, doing business as the Strong, for the construction and maintenance of interactive recreational areas in the terminal.
Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Legislator Vasquez. Oh, seconded by Legislator Vasquez.
Got it.
Simmons. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
That's it.
Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Legislator Barnhart.
Legislator Baines' question about the federal grants that we accepted, and I appreciate CFO Franklin's response through the chair to the administration. I'm wondering if CFO Franklin can expand on any steps that the county is taking in light of the federal funding pause and areas that might be of particular concern.
Through the chair, what we've learned during the course of this meeting is a federal judge in DC issued at least an administrative stay concerning that order, which I guess I note to make clear that the issue is evolving by the minute, and we will continue to, there was also an updated memo from the White House late this afternoon. So we are continuing to assess that by the minute, I guess, based on the ever-changing nature of it. Today even, we don't have a list of programs at this time, but are continuing to assess and will advise our departments accordingly.
Thank you, and I certainly hope the legislature will be kept up to date as well in whatever areas of concern that may arise. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the January 28th, 2025 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will be Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m.